You know, when people talk about Hollywood, they often narrow it down to just a few things: success, influence, and image. And perhaps more than anything else, image seems to carry a weight that never quite fades. It's not just about looking good, it's about staying relevant, staying visible, and somehow staying timeless in an industry that moves faster than most people can keep up with. And that's where the conversation becomes fascinating, because no matter how much things change, one idea seems to remain constant: the idea of youth. Not just feeling young, but appearing young. It's a standard that has shaped careers, defined public perception, and in many ways, driven entire industries forward. Take someone like Kris Jenner, for example. A figure who has built not just a brand, but an empire around visibility, influence, and understanding exactly how Hollywood works. Over the years, she has become known not just as a media personality, but as a strategist, someone who knows how to stay in the spotlight. And recently, her name once again found its way into public discussion. This time around, conversations about appearance, transformation, and how the media presents these changes. It sparked the kind of attention that Hollywood stories often do, where admiration, curiosity, and debate all blend into one. But here's where things begin to connect in a broader way. Because in the world of public figures, stories rarely exist in isolation. They overlap, they intertwine, and sometimes they unexpectedly pull in other familiar names. And one such name that often finds itself at the center of attention is Meghan Markle now. Meghan's journey has been anything but ordinary. From acting to becoming part of the British royal family, and then stepping into a completely different kind of global role, her path has been closely followed at every stage. And with that level of visibility comes a unique kind of pressure, one where public image, personal choices, and media narratives are constantly intersecting. At one point, both Meghan and Kris Jenner were part of the same high-profile social circle. Events, gatherings, and moments that brought together some of the most recognized names in entertainment. These environments are often seen as glamorous from the outside, but behind the scenes they operate on a different set of rules. Rules that revolve around perception, influence, and timing. And timing, as it turns out, is everything. Because in Hollywood, launching something new, whether it's a brand, a product, or even a personal rebranding, is all about momentum. You get one strong moment to capture attention, and what happens next often determines whether that moment grows or fades. For Meghan, recent efforts to build her lifestyle and product identity have been part of that journey. Like many public figures, she has explored ways to connect with audiences beyond traditional roles, through curated products, storytelling, and brand identity. It's a space that can be incredibly rewarding, but also incredibly competitive. What makes it even more complex is the role of relationships. In industries like Hollywood, connections can open doors, but they can also shape expectations. When well-known figures interact, collaborate, or even simply appear together, those moments can carry meaning far beyond what's immediately visible. A single post, a shared appearance, or even the absence of either can spark conversations that ripple outward. And that's exactly what tends to happen in these situations. Not because of any one action, but because of how those actions are interpreted. Audiences today are more engaged than ever. They notice details, they compare moments, and they build narratives, sometimes based on very little, sometimes based on patterns they believe they see. But here's the reality that often gets lost in all of this. Behind the headlines, behind the speculation, and behind the constant flow of updates, these are still individuals navigating a very public world. A world where every decision, big or small, can be viewed from multiple angles. And in that kind of environment, even something as simple as a product launch, a social interaction, or a public appearance can take on a life of its own. It becomes less about the action itself and more about what people believe it represents. For someone like Meghan, that means walking a very fine line. On one side, there's the opportunity to build something new, to create a brand that reflects her vision. On the other, there's the challenge of managing how that vision is received in a space where opinions form quickly and spread even faster. And for someone like Kris Jenner, it's about maintaining a legacy of influence, continuing to operate at a level where visibility and relevance are not just maintained, but constantly renewed. So when their worlds intersect, even briefly, it's bound to generate attention. Not necessarily because something dramatic has happened, but because of what those interactions symbolize in a larger sense. Power, perception, influence, all the elements that define modern celebrity culture. And perhaps that's the most interesting part of this story. It's not about conflict. It's not about choosing sides. It's about understanding how these worlds function, how visibility is managed, how narratives are shaped, and how, in the end, public perception often becomes the most powerful force of all. Because in today's world, being seen is one thing, but how you are seen, that's everything. And as Hollywood continues to evolve, one thing remains certain. The stories will keep coming, the conversations will keep growing, and the line between reality and perception will remain as fascinating as ever.